Hello everyone, welcome back to another light novel review. I am the Rat, and this is The Rat's Nest. Today, we have The Eminence and Shadow Volume 3. I love this series. I love this series a lot. I read this series first as the manga back, early 2019-ish, probably. I just read it online, just found it whenever I was looking through, reading all the isekai stuff that was translated. Absolutely loved it then. I still absolutely love it. This is easily my second favorite light novel series, and definitely one of my favorite manga, behind Mushoku Tensei. Mushoku Tensei being my favorite by a decent bit, but I still love The Eminence and Shadow because it's far above all the others. I will say the gap between Mushoku Tensei and The Eminence and Shadow, I love them both for very different reasons. I think they're both phenomenal stories. But yeah, so I've read the light novel ever since it's been coming out. I remember when it was announced, and that was super hype, and I own all the manga volumes that are out physically as well, and so rereading through that's been a blast. And I've read 2 web novels, just if any time, and the 2 are Mushoku Tensei, which I've read all the way through, read all the extra stuff for. I love it so much. The other one is The Eminence and Shadow. So this is one of the 2 of my most dedicated series that I've read, and definitely for a good reason. Reading the web novel and reading the manga, I already knew what was going to happen in this volume, but I mean, I still loved it so much. There's something about having the physical book, right? Something about having that physical book in your hands, or you're reading it sitting in your chair, laying on your bed, whatever. It's just so much better. And I read the web novel years ago at this point, I think late 2019, maybe early 20, I think it was late 2019 I read it. But it was good. It was very, very good. And this book was very, very good too. So this is actually going to be a little bit of a different review. That's my background with the series. I don't have any notes. Normally I'll write notes. I wanted to try it without, because I felt like writing notes was holding me back, giving me less motivation to read. And I have finished 3 light novels at this point since recently. Since in this past week, I finished 3 light novels. I feel very, very happy with myself for that. So, as with most Eminence and Shadow books, I think all is safe to say, there's 2 main arcs going on here in this book. First, you have the Lawless City, with Sid going into the Lawless City, all that stuff. You get introduced to Yukime and Juggernaut, and they're fighting the vampire queen, Elizabeth. Yada yada. Claire's there. I love Claire. I think this is a great story, getting to see her. I also got to see Aurora for a little bit, which is very fun. And then next, we had the Inflation arc. I can't remember what the community name for it is. The Spirit Fox art, maybe. I can't remember the official name. The Inflation arc. Because that's the main goal here. They were both phenomenal. I remember reading them in the web novel. I think the Lawless City arc was a lot better in the light novel. I think the way it was rewritten and everything. I just think Daisuke Aizawa is a phenomenal author, really. The way that he writes is very engaging. Of course, it helps that I love the series, but I do think that the writing itself is very, very solid. Not to mention anything of the humor. I love the humor in this series. I think so much of it was well placed, especially in this book. You have so many good moments. Starting with Lawless City. Right. You have Claire and Sid, and Claire wants Sid. She thinks that she has possession, right? She has the signs, but she doesn't know. She doesn't know she's been cured of it. And so that's her driving force. She wants to get Sid into the Night Force before she maybe dies or gets kicked out because of her possession. And so she takes him to the Lawless City to, get him acquainted and go on some missions and stuff. You get him into the Night Fold, and then everything happens from there, right? It's the Blood Moon, which... Oh my gosh, I love it whenever, a lot of the humor in this series based off of Sid and him just accidentally guessing things or saying the right things. I love it every time. It never gets old. Whenever he's like, doesn't the moon look a little more red than usual? And Beta's like, no, and she soy jacks, and it's like, the legendary red moon. It certainly is. And it's just like, yeah, I knew that. Me, I knew that. And then, and then at the end, and he's just like, yeah, don't worry. It's nothing more than just a little wreck. That's what he genuinely thinks. I love it. I love the moments whenever they like react to him being like Sid instead of Shadow. And they're like, yeah, we know this is just a ruse, but it's still so much fun to see him like this, even though his true form is the omnipotent Shadow. It's like, no, it's not. That's why when referring to the character, you can't really refer to him as Shadow because Shadow's the face he puts on. He is Sid. But that core misunderstanding where he just lucks his way into everything it's so good. And then getting there, obviously, lots of good action scenes. I really enjoyed Sid's little escapades. And he goes out without Claire, and then the ghouls attack starts. And then Claire's like finds Mary, who's another prominent character in this. I enjoyed her character. I think the little vampire plot was interesting. Yeah, pretty par for the course when it comes to the Eminence and Shadow of this grand story and Sid just doing whatever he wants with it and just solving it all flawlessly. I think it was really solid. I will say Elizabeth is very interesting as a character because, as we saw at the end, she is one of very few characters to know that Sid is Shadow. Obviously, the 7 Shadows do, but no one. I don't think any of the numbers do. Maybe Victoria, but I don't. Probably not. But Elizabeth knows. Elizabeth knows Sid is Shadow, and it's very interesting. I love characters like that, where it's like here's this very powerful being, obviously not as powerful as Sid, but that knows his identity, and that's very cool. And so we get Sid, and he goes out on the town, and he's like, he decides he wants to play a different role from the passive mob that he typically is. And then Mary sees that, and then later you get to see Claire trying to find him. Mary's like, I saw a kid with black hair. I saw 2 of them. One was taken as sacrifice, and the other one was standing around, like going, yeah. Claire was like, there's no way that's my brother. He got taken. It's just like, I know I'm just explaining the joke here, but man, it's good. It's really good stuff. I also really loved how Shadow just point blank takes down Crimson. Like, it's absolute, because it is nothing to him. I love it whenever he just comes in and completely messes up the plan, just completely unintentionally. There were so many good moments in Lawless City. I enjoyed the introduction of Yukime and Juggernaut. I think that was well handled. The little dude standing outside the watch guard who just let them in, and he's like, nope, not going to let Shadow in. And then Shadow didn't even go in. He ran up the wall, and all he wanted was money. The entire time, all he wanted was money. He's GOAT. He's the GOAT. He's on that grind. He's the throat goat, you could say. Sid is the throat goat. And then during the final battle, whatever, they're going up there, we get to see Aurora takes over Claire's body, which is very interesting. Also, the progenitor blood from Elizabeth is affecting and mixing with the blood of the heroes that like Claire and Shadow Garden possess, and it's turning them into something more, which is theoretically kind of closer to Aurora, I think. And that's part of the reason why Aurora was able to inhabit Claire's body, but we get to see that, and that was I love Aurora very much. I think she's a great character. I love getting to see her whenever we can. And I think seeing her take over Claire's body was awesome, because this is Sid's sister, and we know, Sid's the protagonist, yada yada, trained in his past life, yada yada. There's tons of explanations as to why he's so strong, right? But part of it probably is genetics. I mean, I know his parents are kind of non-factors, at least as far as we know. I could definitely see Daisuke Aizawa coming out and having his parents in this world like do something. But his sister, I think having his sister be strong as well, and his sister have these hidden latent powers is very interesting. Daisuke Aizawa is very good at writing characters, and I think a lot of the times you'll have series introduce too many characters, right? This was my main problem with Shield Hero, at least currently. I'm caught up through volume 19. Is where there's too many characters, right? And so you don't have any time to develop them. But I think Daisuke Aizawa, you have your core characters, Sid, Rose, Beta. I'd say Beta's more of a core character than Alpha, really. We don't see Alpha very much, but what we do see of her is very good. Claire, maybe. You could say I really think Sid, Beta, and Rose are the core group there. Maybe Alexia. There's a couple ones you can make a case for, but I think a series like The Eminence and Shadow, you just don't need a ton of development for those characters, right? Because it's a rotating cast, right? You have Sid as the focus, and also with him being the unreliable narrator. The character development isn't the focus of the series, right? The focus of the series is comedy and what antics is Sid going to get up to, and I think he did a great job of that. This book. I think getting to see, for the short time we saw them, I think Mary was a great character. I think Elizabeth was a great character. I don't even think she had any lines, and Elizabeth was a very well-written character. I really enjoyed getting to see the personalities of Yukime versus Juggernaut. I think that they were portrayed well. I think getting to see Beta and Claire interact was very cool. Getting to see Rose again as like a full-fledged member of Shadow Garden for the first time. I really like Rose. Obviously, she's one of the most developed characters in Eminence and Shadow. And so to see her there, it was very cool. I remember first reading that part in the web novel and being like, oh, there's Rose. And then the web novel didn't do very much with Rose, but I really preferred the direction Volume 4 took. But it is so very, very interesting to see. I really do enjoy getting to see that. So with Aurora and Claire, it was cool to get to see Aurora come back into the story a little bit. Just, add a little bit more to the mystery. And Aurora is one of those characters, too, that knows that Sid is Shadow. They're very interconnected. It makes sense for Aurora to know, right? I think Aurora is endgame. I hope we get to see her again soon. I really enjoyed that. Obviously, Sid comes in, and he's not going all out. And then Beta's like, oh no, whoa, what's happening? And then she's like, he's protecting something important. He's protecting me and his sister and all of us. Dude just had money. Oh my gosh. Sid's money antics will never not be funny to me. He just had the money. He was in fact protecting something important. That wasn't incorrect at all. He was protecting something important. He was protecting that cash. He was protecting that dough. And you gotta respect it. Gotta respect the grind, gotta respect the hustle there. And of course, once he got rid of it, he was able to move freely, and he wasn't able to get all of it back, but he got some of it. Really solid arc. I really like it. I liked Claire's development where she was like, I have a hidden power, and Sid was just like, you go. I've been there. Really good arc. I really enjoyed the final scene where Elizabeth bowed to Sid. It's like, okay, so she knows. And then so that was Lawless City. It was absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. Then we get the inflation arc, Mitsugoshi arc, whatever you want to call it. This one was very good as well. I think we had one of the best moments in Eminence and Shadow in this little arc here. I really believe that genuinely. Looking at it, if you've read it, it's the part with Alpha and Shadow. That was good. It was very, very well written. Getting to see, Alpha, who is a character with not a ton of character, and we don't get to see a lot, but is at the same time a major character in the story. It was really good to get to see her composure breakdown that we usually see her with around the others. Very rarely do we ever get her on her own like that, and very rarely do we ever get her on her own with Sid. I think that's like the second time that's ever happened in the light novel, like that, and then like when she was rescued. Well, the entire thing, it's a great premise. As always, Sid is like, Mitsugoshi's getting in trouble. Like, I'm going to crash their company, build my own, and then hire them, because they got in trouble with the major corporations. And so he's going to counterfeit to make money because he just wants money. And he's John Smith now. He's abandoned the name of Shadow. This arc probably has the most convoluted way of Shadow coming back, of just the dumb luck that Sid has. Where from the start, the cult of Diablos has the major corporation alliance, the MCA. And Mitsugoshi started printing fake bills, or paper money. And then you have the MCA, who also has their own paper money, but they made it less secure to make it easy for counterfeits. Now the cult had assets in the MCA. It was going to pull them out, make a ton of cash, and flood the market with those counterfeit bills, crashing MCA and then conversely crashing Mitsugoshi. And that's all banks and loans and credit. I'm not going to get into the specifics here. Very convoluted, but it works. And that was their plan. Sid, entirely on a whim, gets together with possibly the only other person who could produce an operation large enough to crash the paper money of the MCA. Does it. Just randomly comes up with the idea of counterfeiting. It's like, we should counterfeit. And then just like wants to counterfeit just to make money, not to crash anything, but to make money. Is really mad whenever Yukime, or sad, disappointed whenever Yukime is like no, like you couldn't make as much money doing that. And then Yukime is like, wait, he's testing me. And then she comes up with the same plan the cult did. Oh my gosh. And she's like, of course. He wants to put enough money into circulation to crash both Mitsukoshi and and the MCA, and then we could take over. And then we have the money from counterfeiting too. And she's like, he's a genius. And he's just like, oh, I really wanted to make some money. And he's like, yes, of course, that sounds great. Oh my gosh. And so they have their operations and he's defending it. And then I love the part where they send Delta after Mr. John Smith. And Delta just immediately knew. Her and Sid's interactions are so fun. Because Sid can't be Shadow like around Delta, just because Delta is just Delta, right? Because Sid isn't Shadow to Delta. Sid is boss, right? And so it's just, Sid really is himself probably around Delta more so than any of the others. And I think that's always a lot of fun to see. So, just Delta immediately recognizing, and it's like, oh yeah, go kill Juggernaut for me real quick. Delta's like, okay. And then the rest of them are like, Delta's dead. Oh man. And then Beta reports to him, and then she's like, Delta's dead. And he's like, no, she's just on a long journey right now. And she is. He's not lying. He's not lying whatsoever. He's not saying that to be cryptic, or that's just genuinely what happened. It's just genuinely, she just genuinely is on a long journey right now. It never fails to disappoint. And Beta's like, such magnanimous words, Shadow-sama. And then of course you get the confrontation with Alpha and Sid. And oh man, how well written was that? I absolutely loved that. Really I did. Just getting to see Alpha's character like that. Getting to see Alpha's character be vulnerable. Right? She's fighting Sid. This is really the first time we've seen Alpha fight, I think, at least fight seriously. She very likely was giving it her all against it. Now, obviously, it didn't work. But as John Smith, with the limitations imposed by himself with being John Smith, Alpha cut him. It's very impressive. She's the only one to do that up to this point. And so she's very strong. I think getting to see Alpha in all-out combat. I think Sid is easily stronger than anyone in the cult. It just wouldn't make sense if he wasn't. He's the Eminence in Shadow, right? He has to be able to one-shot everyone. But seeing Alpha, I think would be a ton of fun to see her fight. We see Beta fight a lot. I think Beta is probably the most prominent member of the Seven Shades. Alpha being kind of lesser to her in terms of prominence, but it's always amazing to see Alpha, and I love getting to see Alpha's character here be really vulnerable and be like why, like I can't understand you, like help me understand, like I'm strong now, I won't hold you back. And then Sid's probably just like, what is she going on about? It's so good. And then fine, I love the scene in the manga too, where you get the clear visualization of it too. It's done very well both times, and then finally, like you'll learn the truth soon enough, or whatever he says. I can't remember exactly. It's very good. It's very well written. And then Alpha's a bit depressed because she's like, does he even need us anymore? Like he's gone on. He wants our downfall, right? He wants us to lose. He doesn't need us anymore, right? And everyone's torn up, and Delta's like dead, right? And then randomly, Sid wrote this cipher, right, in Japanese, I think, or maybe a combination of different languages, right? Gives it to Beta. They decrypt it. It has an explanation for everything he's done. And it's really not an explanation like to go get it, or like, oh, whoops, I'm sorry, but you guys will learn. And they're like, he hasn't abandoned us. They take the money he and Yukimi have stockpiled from the counterfeiting, right? So they're safe and Mitsugoshi's safe, but the MCA still falls to the counterfeiting. And then you have Geten, who's like the villain of this arc. I really enjoyed his and Yukime's characters. For arc characters like the Eminence and Shadow so likes to pull out. I think they were done really well. I enjoyed their development. I enjoyed their little backstory. I think it was a lot of fun. Just another girl to pine after Sid. Hey, I'm all for it. I'm looking forward. I think Yukime is probably not going to be a main character again, but hey, she might. Very, very, very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how she develops going forward. Gatan was about as interesting as Eminence and Shadow villains get. I think his ties to Yukime really are what kind of made him stand out. I love the fact that just randomly Sid also saved Yukime back then. It's good. It's very, very good. And then obviously everything. And then Sid having Delta help him dig for the money that he thought was hidden, and it wasn't. And then he leaves before Delta actually finds something. And then we get the beginning of Book 4. And all the members of Shadow Garden are like, oh, he didn't abandon us. Oh, we're so happy, yada, yada. And that's Book 3. I will say I'm recording this a couple days after I read Book 3. I've already read Book 4. Man, Book 4 is probably one of my favorite light novels I've ever read. I won't lie to you at all. That second part was good. I'm going to record that later today. But yeah, that's my thoughts and my review of Book 3. All in all, absolutely amazing. The Eminence and Shadow just gets better and better with each book. And I couldn't wait to read Book 4. Obviously, I've already read it. I read it in about 2 days, which is an impressive pace for me now. But yeah, no, it was very, very good. I'm looking forward to Book 5. I can't say I'm looking forward to Book 4, but well, if you're this far in the video, obviously there's something you like. So make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment telling me how correct my opinions are. Be sure to check out Goobers on Screen's book club, link in description. And the next video will be, I don't know, because I don't know when this will be going up. I can tell you the next review will be Eminence and Shadow Volume 4, and after that will either be The Spoke Rohan Kashibe, which I picked up yesterday physically. It's quite a beautiful book. Or it will be Mushoku Tensei Volume 11. It would be very, very good to read Eminence and Shadow and Mushoku Tensei back to back. With that, I will see you all next time.